Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Building Your Thriving Wellness Business. I am so super excited to bring into the attraction module my friend Jess. She's amazing. She owns her own branding agency. She's also one of my mastermind sisters. We get to do life and business together. And I'm just so super excited to have her share her zone of genius here with you today. So Jess, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me, Chris. I love being here. I love teaching and facilitating and connecting with you, of course. So
yes.
Thanks for having me.
And she's also an expert inside of Activate Abundance, which is awesome because she gets to help our clients attract more clients, which is really amazing.
That's right. So we can all help more people, right? Because that's the bottom line. I think at the end of the day, we want to create that impact and let it ripple out from everything we do so that gradually by advancing ourselves, attracting clients so they can advance themselves, we slowly but surely make the world a much better place. So
yeah, absolutely. The more people that we get to help, like the more wellness coaches, health coaches, practitioners, healers are serving others and working with clients, the better our world is.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. And we can keep healing that way. Exactly. That's why I love doing what I do.
And you're so good at it. Like your stuff is absolutely stunning. It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
And I love your quiz too. I just want to share that at the very beginning.
Oh,
you.
I love it. It's so really fun.
Go take the quiz. Like it's so fun. You get to see like what your personality is. That what I know that I took the quiz.
It's your brand archetype quiz. So you get to find out which archetype you are and how to take a couple next steps in order to make sure your brand archetype is being represented publicly and visually and aesthetically and also in your messaging. So it's a fun quiz. You get to answer some super fun questions, and then you also get like some really great next steps to take in your business.
Yeah, let's talk about that, Jess, with branding, because I think a lot of people are, especially when you're new and you're building your business, you think branding is the photos, the fonts, the colors.
Yes.
And that's a really teeny tiny
weensy part of the whole branding pie, if you will. So yes, of course, your photos, your colors, your fonts, your logo, all very important. They are a visual representation of the brand. So it's just, like you said, a very small piece of the entire brand pie. And I always like to start with saying like, branding is a long game adventure. And it will evolve as you evolve, especially if you're a personal brand, because you're evolving, you're changing. And so your brand will also go along with that. And even on a like corporate or product-based level, brands continue to evolve as you fine tune and know who your ideal clients are, how you're meant to serve, your big whys, your brand values. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. So yes, the aesthetic is one piece, and then your like brand story, brand values, brand messaging, brand consistency, where you're being distributed, so that you're connecting and making that impact and earning that revenue by showing up as an authentic brand in whatever marketplace or distribution channel that makes the most sense for you and your business.
Yes. And, most coaches are their brand.
Yes.
You might have, massage therapists or holistic healers that have, a storefront and, but can you talk a little bit about why is it important to know like what your brand is and what your brand values are so that you can attract your ideal client?
Would I like to? I would love to. I eat, drink, and sleep this stuff. So yes, it's so essential, especially as a personal brand, because you are the representation of your modalities, your work. And say you're like a Reiki practitioner, massage therapist, or acupuncturist. Let's face it, there's a lot of those all across the world. What differentiates you from the person next to you? Now, I like to have the caveat of, I don't believe in scarcity or there's only so much to go around, but I do believe in the right person coming to work with you. That's a right fit for you. And we all have a different way, a different essence that we put out into the world as individuals, of course. And this also applies to your brand. I call it brand energetics. So you have to be aligned with your brand energetics. And you can't, like, that's why someone who's super successful over here doing their thing, and if you copied them verbatim, it would fall flat because it's not you. It's not your brand essence. So that's why it's so important to really know what that brand essence and those brand energetics are. Because people can smell inauthenticity, like up just a million miles away. They're like, this something doesn't feel right. They can pick up on it immediately, more so than ever. And we have a ton of information being floated our way every single second of every single day. And to kind of cut through that noise, you have to show up as you, the authentic you, the secret sauce you. I'm just going to go off on a riff here, because usually that secret sauce piece of you is something you're a little afraid to share, a little afraid to really, well, I say, let the freak flag fly, and like really let it shine out there. It's kind of usually that one thing or that one, piece about you that you're like, I don't know, people won't get that. Is that professional enough? Blah, 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 blah. All the things your ego is going to tell you to, like, let's just tamp it down and be a little vanilla. Because then at least we're playing it safe. Like, don't play it safe is what I'm saying here. If you like dropping F-bombs, drop the F-bomb. If your favorite thing is butterflies, like, let's have butterflies everywhere. If your secret sauce is really, say, I was a connection that you had with your grandma growing up, and that's what made you want to be someone who brought more whole foods into their life. And you want people to have that kind of connection with their family. And so maybe that's your brand story and your brand message. And so bring that forward. Don't be like, oh, no one's going to get that. That's just important to me. Not so. It's definitely the things that are enlivening you that also increase your energy, increase your brand energy. They're the why behind what you're doing. And so those things need to be shared. Absolutely 100%. And that kind of goes into the brand values. What do you value? What's important to you? How do you want your brand to be represented in the world? And how do you want to be remembered? And a lot of new entrepreneurs, I'm like totally going off here. Like, have a lot of
gold. I hope everybody has written this down.
Yes, a lot of new entrepreneurs are like, I'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like trying to dig for gold with a toothpick. And instead of, like, create the shovel first, and then your creation and your evolution around building your business, acquiring new clients will be so much easier because you have that right foundation and that right tool. So, so yeah. And I think a lot of people want to skip over this part, or just like, let me just, I'm spinning 10,000 plates, like, branding. What is that? What's that got to do with it? Mm-hmm. And you're creating a brand, whether you like it or not. And so I say, why not intentionally create a good one?
Yeah.
That really is in alignment with you.
And the other thing that I really like about, when you're taking a look at your brand or your brand values, is that you know more about who you are and how you serve, and also who you want to serve. Exactly. And who your ideal client is. Yeah. So, it's a process that you get to explore where, when you are understanding, okay, what are my brand values? Do I want to be like fun? Do I want to be like,
bold?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then, you are going to be able to show up that way. And it's also going to help you stay on brand with your programs, what you're offering, what, what you like to support. There are some people that really, really like in-person connections. And so that is going to drive whether, they're doing in-person events or virtual events, or, those brand values are going to attract their client when they know what it is that you stand for.
Exactly. So you brought up such a great thing that I also love to talk about, and it is very much in the attract pillar, right? Which is where we are right now.
Mhm.
So you can't just stop at like, what's meaningful to me, because
Mhm.
that's very important. We have to figure that out, I think, first. And then you say, okay, based on who my ideal client is, what's meaningful to them? And
Mhm.
then we start having a very beautiful dance together. So both are extremely, extremely important. You also have to remember you're very much immersed in your own offers, your own modalities that you're using. They're second nature to you. You could be woken up at 3 a.m. and be asked to give a TED talk, and like that's the thing you would talk about. You're so close to it. It's so in
Mhm.
your, like I said, in your essence. But you also need to consider, how is my ideal client, the person I want to attract towards me, who really needs my help and my services, what are they saying? What are they talking about? How are they describing? They might not think, I need a massage. They might think, oh my gosh, my neck is in so much pain, or I feel so inflamed, or they might not even use the word inflamed. Why am I so poofy? Like, this is like, sometimes we have to go down to, like, and I don't even want to say down, but like we have to go into the brain and the heart and the feelings of our ideal client, because they're not going to talk about it like we're going to talk about it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
in the attractor factor, one really key thing that everyone listening to this, I'm like, go do it tomorrow, is figure out who one or two of your ideal clients are at the very least, and go interview them. I
Mhm.
hear a lot like, I put this thing out there and it didn't stick. I'm like, well, did you ask your people what they wanted?
Mhm.
And so many times we're all like huddled behind our computer trying to figure it out for ourselves. And the world is just like, please let me tell you what I'm dealing with right now. Like let me explain it to you. And we're not opening up that communication with our ideal clients, or like
Yeah.
aspired clients. Like, what's important to you? What, like, if you could wave a magic wand and have this particular thing go away, what would that be, and what would you gladly pay money for to have a solution?
Mhm.
And these are the questions you need to be asking people either you've already worked with and loved working with, or that you aspire to work with.
That is such, yes, definitely. Like you have to know what it is that your ideal client wants in order to attract the ideal client, right? Like it
Mhm.
seems so simple, and yet that this really is glossed over.
Yeah.
Most coaches and practitioners will talk about, the program, the offer, but fail to really talk about, well, why is this important and how is it meeting the need that the client is saying that they need?
Yep. And I'm
Chances are
saying,
she want.
yeah, you don't need to figure this out all on your own. Your clients are willing to tell you. Because
Yeah.
I also hear a lot of people like, well, what should I say? What are the benefits of my program? How does it make people feel? Well, go straight to the source, my friend. Go ask, and you will be given. The
Mhm.
people will tell you, and they'll gladly share, especially in a one-to-one, more personal conversation.
Yeah. What are
Uh,
some of those questions? Like if people are just starting out and they're not sure, like, well, what question do I even ask?
why did you decide to work with me is a great one if they've already worked with you. What were you experiencing at the point of when you decided to find a solution for this? How would you describe that problem or that challenge? Because their words, you're gonna want to use their words. Like I said, they might not say the word inflamed, but they might say, I just feel poofy and bloated, or whatever the case may be. The magic wand question is a very good one. Like if I gave you a magic wand and you could have X, Y, or Z disappear, like what would X, Y, or Z be? And then what would you gladly pay money to go away?
Mhm.
Those are just, and then also, like, I love the one, like, what keeps you up at night? Because there's times where we're waking up and we're like ruminating on something, or can't get to sleep. And I think those are the true that's like a tall tale sign of what's really going on for somebody, and the things that they are having, those repetitive thoughts that are blocking them from, their own peace.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so essential. And you're going to want to use languaging. This is branding too. Some people's clients will be aspirational, meaning I'm here and I long to go over there. And I really want to know, like, I want to feel this way and, have this sort of evolution and paint me the future picture. And some people are moving away from pain. They're going to relate more to, here's the suffering or the pain that I'm feeling. And I need to know that you understand that before I can say yes to moving on. 9 times out of 10, we're a little bit of both. So I would say incorporate both into your messaging. But it's important to, again, really understand where those challenging points are for your clients and where they aspire to be. And then those are 2 islands, right? You
Mm-hmm.
become the bridge or the boat that moves them from point yucky to point delicious, right?
I love that. Point yucky to point delicious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we want to be specific about that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of times people can get caught in coach speak. And I'm like, well, I'm going to help them live their best life ever. Well, there's not anybody on the planet that doesn't not want to live their best life ever. Like, I think we all want to live our best life ever. But what is it that you do specifically that is going to help them have a specific experience?
Yeah. And I think a good question to ask yourself when clarifying what those types of statements are is like, could anybody say this? Could the next coach over say the exact same sentence and it wouldn't feel weird coming out of their mouth? Because then you're too broad, versus using, again, either your own life experience or experiences your clients have had to paint the picture. It's not new news. Like, we've been storytellers the moment we had language, and maybe even a little bit before, like our cave drawings, right? So storytelling is so ingrained into our way of creating connection, creating understanding. And so the more you can tell a story and paint the picture of results, what's possible, how to move away from those pains based on your own experience that is so authentic to you, the easier time you'll have attracting the right clients to you.
Yeah.
And if you are broad and you cast a wide net, it's like you're not always going to get the right fits for you. And I think that's another thing people overlook, especially in the beginning, is I want to help everybody. I can help everybody. Well, I'm certain that you can, but the way you're going to talk to a professional who has 0 time on their plate and they're already like what they feel is failing at managing their time in order to, like, how can I fit one more thing in, even if it is to reduce my stress, versus a mom who hasn't been sleeping well because she's got a new baby. Like, the language and how you would talk to these people is so vastly different, like on other planets, that if you go broad, you're going to miss them both.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Because they need to hear that you see them, you get them, you understand what it is they're struggling with, and what is the solution or the result that they want.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned people are like, well, I could help everybody, and, we know the saying, niche is rich and broad is broke. Yeah. But that really is true. And it's not necessarily just because, like, oh, let me make amazing money, and so I'm going to niche down. It's, you want to relate to the person that you were most lit up about helping.
Yep. Because then we can actually make that impact happen.
Yeah.
Which I think ultimately, when you say something like, I can help everybody, the underlying message and meaning there for you is like, I really want to make an impact. I really want to serve. Like, that's at the heart of what I'm doing. Well, you need clients in order to do that. You need to do your good work, in order to do that. And if so, I like to reframe it for people because I hear it a lot. That's what niching down really is. It's giving you the opportunity to have deeper, more meaningful conversations with people that will actually create the impact that you're looking to create and the impact that they obviously want for themselves. So, and I've heard it explained, like, rather than go a mile wide and an inch deep, go an inch wide and a mile deep.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get better results, not only for you and your business, but for the people you're serving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And this is all branding, folks. You're like, oh, I didn't know what umbrella that all fell under. Well, this is it. Because like, that's the brand values coming into play. That's the brand messaging coming into play. That's the positioning coming into play. That's the ideal client coming into play. So that's why branding is so much more than images, graphics, and fonts, right?
Yes, it is. It's so much more. It is really the way that you are being visible in the world and letting people see you and self-identify that they are your person.
Yeah. So let's talk about seeing you, because this comes up a lot for people too, is consistency. And a lot of people are afraid, like, oh, I feel so redundant. I've been saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Well, yeah, that's the whole point. Because so you're gonna get bored with your own message, with your own message, your own, even your own visuals. I say stay the course, because just because you've heard it 1,000,001 times or seen it 1,000,001 times, again, we're being bombarded with information and visuals constantly, all day, every day. If you're like, stay consistent and show up consistently with that brand look and that same message over and over again, it's like, boop, okay, popped out, boop, popped out, boop, popped out. And then finally, after, I'm telling you, like 16 times of the same impressions, then maybe someone will consider clicking on the link, engaging with you, liking the post even. And I don't say this to discourage people. I just really want to hit home that consistency over and over and over and over again, even if it feels like you've said it a ton of times, is so essential to people actually recognizing you, your brand message. And it's like, we see it with big corporations that have done this over and over and over again. And the only reason you recognize the Starbucks logo, the Apple logo, the Nike logo is because they've been, for lack of a better way of saying it, shoving the same message down our throat for decades. And that's a good thing.
Yep.
And now we know we can rely on them because of that.
Well, and another piece that I really love about this, when we're putting things on repetition like that, we're creating simplicity in our business, right? Absolutely. Instead of like, well, I got to go create this and this and this and this. And all of a sudden you're like stuck in procrastination and overwhelm and confusion and spinning. No, you get to put this on repeat.
I love that you said this, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs are very creative, whether and then I'm not saying necessarily you can paint a picture and or create a graphic. That's not what I mean. We are constant innovation, constant creativity around our business. I say keep that brand part of your business super consistent, like we just talked about. Let the creativity be present in how you're showing up and how you're serving your clients. Because I feel like people don't know where to channel it. And I say, like, so channel it there. Let your programs always be like innovated, and the way you're creatively showing up with your actual clients, like let your creativity funnel there.
And when we think about, sharing and being visible and putting things on repeat, like, are we putting brand and I know the answer to this, but I want you to speak into this. I think sometimes it can get confusing to people. What are they putting on repeat?
Social media posts. Not necessarily the same content, but like definitely your look, like definitely the aesthetic piece. Don't switch your fonts every 5 seconds. Don't switch your color palette every 5 seconds. Don't oh, I want to be springy and light, and now I want to be moody and dark. Like people will get confused, even if it's your freaking face on the same image. They will get confused, and or it just like won't even register like something new, because our brain just scientifically is constantly compartmentalizing to simplify. And it's like, okay, this goes in this box. Yes, I've seen this. Okay, this must be important. I've seen it again. I've seen it again. Seen it again. Same thing, same thing, same thing. Oh, it's like when you hear a book recommendation and after 5 times, you're like, fine, I'll buy the dang book and read it, right? Same thing is happening. So you don't want to switch up your aesthetic. I've seen people do it like every week at something new. I'm like, no one's going to remember you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So definitely keep that the same. The core messages, the very core things that you're like, this is my body of work. That needs to stay the same. Like, oh, this person always tells this story. And it's like, oh, it's I'm trying to think of an example. It's the girl who always talks about when she was running through a field of flowers. Like, I don't know what whatever your thing is. And it's just like, some people might not remember your name, but they'll remember your colors. They'll remember the one story you keep telling. And that's what's going to draw them back to you and also create trust in you. Because if you're all flip-floppy and all over the place, guess what? I'm going to think you're flip-floppy and all over the place in your programs and your paid offers too.
Totally.
So you're also creating a sense of security for people when you're consistent. That's like, I go to the same coffee shop every single time because I know exactly what I'm going to get and I love it. That consistency makes me have a buy-in and loyalty to the brand. We all do this. If you just sit back and look for a moment, you'll see we all do it. We all do it. And that's where you want to get to. Like after you've put all this into place, and this is why it's so important to start branding, brand messaging, brand values now, even if you're just starting. Stay consistent, because then you start creating loyalty, and then you start creating brand advocates, people who will go to bat for you. Some troll is in the comments saying some mean things. They're like, you don't know her. She's the best. Like, and they will fight for you tooth and nail. They will. And they'll back you. They'll refer you. They'll have you on their summit. You know what I mean? So like it's definitely such a key building block to everything you're doing. Now, where you can be creative. I had this question just the other day. It's like, well, I do feel redundant. I see the importance of consistency, but how can I spice it up a little bit? Well, as a personal brand, you are having experiences on the daily that can all relate back to your brand message. So if you're like, I want gut health, like I want to heal women, all women on the planet from their gut issues. And that's your like master of your domain, right? So then you're like, oh, I was waiting in line to order my breakfast this morning, and I was with my husband, and I had the choice between this meal that I knew would aggravate my stomach and this meal, and you can now you're in a teaching moment, but you're telling it through a story of something that literally happened to you that day. So the messaging is consistent, and then you're just putting a story around it that lightens it up, makes it more interesting. And so this is how you can kind of create new content for you. You're never bereft of content, I promise you.
And since you're talking about content, I want to also just kind of have you speak into like content categories to keep it really, really simple. And I think that that's one thing that I know really helped me in my business and it helped me simplify my business, was to keep talking about the same categories of things, just in different ways.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's different ways to do it for every single business, but you definitely want, like, are you talking about like content buckets? Like,
exactly.
So you want client love bucket, where you're either sharing a type of testimonial and or results you've created for a client in real time, case studies, testimonials, storytelling, all around that. That's one. You want inspiration. So what is it that you teach that is inspirational to your ideal audience? You can figure out, is that quotes? Is that again, stories? Is it, just depends. You can ask them, remember, what do they like? What's inspirational to you? There's, then you want to do like value add tips based on your body of work. And like, you can create subcategories from that if you'd like, here's my pillars of my program. And every Thursday, I'm taking one of the pillars and I'm speaking on it. I'm trying to think. I usually have these written down. So we have client love, inspiration, tips, value add. I also say what's going to be entertaining for your clients. We do a lot of engagement posts on our own social and for our client social, and they remember, especially in the realm of social media, I'll just speak on that, is they want to be entertained. It's social. So have a funny question that relates back to your business, or sometimes it doesn't need to. Like if you would rather vacation at the beach or the mountains, you're also learning about your clients when you poll them or ask them these types of questions. And it's really easy for someone to be like beach, mountains. I made this one up yesterday. If you're stranded on a desert island with a vegetable, which vegetable would it be? For all my health people out there, so you could ask something fun and cheeky like that. It's like, oh, it'd definitely be asparagus or broccoli or, whatever your favorite, green beans, and it's just kind of fun and cute. And it's also related back to health. So you can do things like that. So yeah.
I love that, Jess.
Yeah. But definitely be talking about your body of work. And don't be afraid to share value. It's like, oh, but this is all my program. Like, why would I just share it for free on social media or in my email? It's like so bite size, and often it's going to really showcase you, your brand, the value that you bring. Don't worry about like, oh, I'm giving away, the whole farm. You're not, because being in the container of actually being in paid work with you is such a different dynamic, and you're getting it in a formulaic way that you as a coach have put together. That is very thought out and very how do I want to say, like, just the evolution of it is very specific to get you a result versus like bite sizes here.
Exactly. Yeah. One of the things I like to share with my clients is information does not equal transformation. Just because somebody has heard you say something doesn't necessarily mean that they're implementing it. And even if they are implementing a bite-sized piece, that's actually good. We want people to like take the action, have a result, feel good about it. That's because right. Then they're going to want to see, well, gosh, if I got this for free and I was able to like have this aha, then what else could I have? So this value is so, so important.
So, so important. We want our audience to have small wins, because that's what happens. Read content, implement content, small win. Christine equals small win. Great. And we start making that neurological connection in the brain of our audience. It's like, oh, okay, I want big wins. I can get small wins from, Chris Williams. What kind of big wins can I get? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, Jess, this is so good. I could talk about this forever.
I know, we do.
It's so much fun, Turner.
So much fun.
So one of the things that you said earlier that I just want to circle back around to is, and this is something that you can do today. So speaking of implementation,
yes,
go do this. Go interview people who are your potential clients.
Yes. Yep.
Go interview them. And if you're not sure who they are, then spend some time in thinking about what would you say, Jess? If someone's like, well, I don't even know who my ideal client is.
I would say, yes, you do. I don't know is no longer in my vocabulary. Unfortunately, I wish it was, but it's not, because it's like the one thing that will stop you time and time again. So if you find yourself saying, I don't know, we're just like, I'm not available for, I don't know. So you do know. So I think we go into I have to interview 10 people. Okay. Just start with one or two.
Yep.
even if it's like a close friend, you can start somewhere. That's if you've never, like, if you're really just baby brand new and you've not worked with anybody before. And obviously choose someone that you know will be honest with you. And I know each and everybody listening to this could think of one person that like fits their ideal client, even if it's a close friend. Mm-hmm. But 9 times out of 10, like if you've been doing business even for a couple months and you've had a client or 2 or 3 or 5, pick your favorite one and go off of, it was so easy to work with them. They got results. They did the work, because we don't want to replicate someone we don't really want to work with. We want to replicate more people that we do want to work with. So I don't know is not an option. And 2, you can figure out one person and start there, because then that'll get you over your jitters of even having the interview, if you have jitters. And then, you'll be like, oh my God, that was so easy. You know who else I could interview? There's Stephanie and Rebecca and Taja and like, and then it gets a lot easier from there.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay, so that was number 1. Number 2, go take the quiz.
Go take the quiz.
Go take the quiz.
You're gonna find out what brand archetype you are. It's really fun, you guys. It's like cute little question. It doesn't take very long. So it's at designcrew.com/quiz, and that's Design Crew with a K.
Design Crew with a K.
Yes.
Go check out Jess. And you're also on Instagram.
Yep. The handle is Design Crew, DESIGNKREW, Design Crew. Yeah, find me on Instagram. Lots of tips there. I share lots of little tidbits, again, that you can implement right there and then that week. And if you take the quiz, you'll also have the option to sign up for my newsletter. So,
yay! Jess,
so
thank you so
excited.
much.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. Again, I could talk about this all day, every day. So
fun. So fun.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, go grab the handout, go take the quiz, go interview some people, and then come back and meet me tomorrow for coffee chat. We will be in my Zoom room, connecting, answering some questions, clarifying some things for you. This is, a special time where I get to connect with you. You get to connect with me in live real time. So I would love to see you. And we're going to be moving on from attract into nurture, which is the next pillar. So cannot wait to see you guys back here again. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, Chris.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.